I've been reading a lot about the fund on salt. And the fund on salt has been commented on social media. I've read all of that. I've listened to his interview. And here's what I want to say about not only the fund on salt, but all the funds. When colonialists come into a territory that they want to colonize, the first of all look for the controlling force in that territory. In our case, it's the funds. The Germans did it, the British did it, and now the French want to do it. I think they look at it now and think, oh, maybe we made a mistake in abolishing their local government because we could have done a better job controlling them through that. No. When the British controlled our funds, it was indirect rule. So it was really a more equitable agreement with the British. Okay, the French come with a fascist and with a, you know, I'm trying to qualify white supremacist interjection in a population, but I cannot say I cannot really say the British came with less of an imposition than the French, because impositions are impositions, and they still disrupt the flow of life in that territory. But let me make the statement, and to be honest with you, that's a different conversation. Let me put it aside. But let me say that what is happening with the fund on salt is what is happening to every fund. Okay, where the fund on and so we really can't blame the fund on salt, because the only way not to be targeted by the colonizer is to not be the fund or run into the bushes. You know, the earlier chiefs and funds who resisted the colonialists did not end up well, because really you're fighting a superior force, a superior military force. A superior military force. So, you know, Bob Marley has a song where it says, you know, live to fight another day. So, Chief Kuva Lekeni of Bakweri fought the Germans and died in the hills fighting. The Fon of Bafut fought the Germans, resisted them for 7 years, until the Germans started emptying the village, and then the Fon of Bafut decided that, you know, I'm the Fon of my people, I represent the interests of my people, I would rather give up myself than give up my people to be scattered among collaborative tribes. And so he gave up. So these people target these funds and they give them a choice, which is an impossible choice. And so the question now is, how do we treat our funds who have been taken over by the colonialists and made them an auxiliary part of their colonial control? Do we abandon them? In fact, are the funds really institutions that we should continue to promote? Those are questions that we need to deal with, but is this the time to deal with them? Maybe not. So the fund on salt has no choice but to be controlled. If you look at that little press conference that was going on, you can look at the fund on salt surrounded by foreigners in foreign uniforms, speaking foreign languages. Okay? They speak French. The fund on salt was not speaking in French. The people asking him questions were not speaking in French. And so you realize that the vestiges of the injustice to the people of Ambazonia is obvious. Somebody was telling me that what La Republique is trying to do these days is try to convince the international community to start treating Ambazonian freedom fighters as terrorists. You know, like I just said, Ambazonians have tried the international system. They've obeyed all the laws. They obeyed the Germans. They obeyed the League of Nations. They obeyed the British. They obeyed the UN. They obeyed La République du Cameroon and the French. and they end up today being shot, their children murdered in their sleep, murdered in their classrooms, all their villages are burned, their grandparents are burnt in houses. They've tried to even starve us by slaughtering our livestock, burn our plant seed, our crop seed, our food. They've done everything to make us succumb. And one of the things that is making them, you see them start backpedaling now and looking for other ways, is our resistance. And that is why I say we cannot take focus of that resistance, because they've tried everything. They've brought in the blacklegs, they've brought in the thieves, they've co-opted the international community, and our resistance, they don't know what to do right now, because our resistance is the resistance given to us by God. Because when God made us humans, it was not by error. And anybody who wants to turn us into animals so that we're obeying a gun or a whip or some colonial officer standing there in military uniform, all of them surrounded with guns, it's not going to succeed, because our resistance is a human resistance given to us by God. The apartheid system in South Africa thought they can outlive the humanity of the people of South Africa, and they did not. So the French will not outlive our humanity. We have experienced the Nigerians. It didn't work very well for us over there. We've experienced La République du Cameroon. It did not work for us over there. The fun of Bafut in Mamfe, when in 1960, 1961, when the British were imposing the two alternatives to us, our people argued that we need our independence. The Fon Chirimbi of Bafut at the time said, Nigeria is an ocean and La République is a fire. We don't want any of that. We want our independence. And they rejected it. And they think they can impose something else on us. We have tried to make that imposition work. The failure of us living with La République du Cameroon is not our fault. We are not responsible for that failure. It is the people who want to turn us into animals who have failed, because they are trying to change what God has made, and that is not going to work. So right now, we want our independence. The funds are now under control, and they are carrying them with guns in military helicopters all around the place. Where I find fault with the fun on Saw is when he tries to tell a false story about our history.
Thank you so much, Israel, for talking to the media. The regional election, how important is it in restoring peace to the troubled Northwest region, especially in Bori division that has been very volatile?
It's something so marvelous. I don't know what to say than to say this is the challenge for the three of us to see what we can do here. And I'm sure that when we shall be talking to the government, through the governor, we understand us fast. We only want, what we want is peace. And that peace, that the regional election will bring it to us, our people.
You are appeal to those who still think otherwise. What message do you have to them?
Well, I would like again to tell them that they have been struggling a lot, that it cannot be possible to tamper with your government, or you are not fit to win your government. In 1968, The Nigerian Biafra war started in Nigeria. Fought, and they could not succeed. I don't see that we will succeed here.
He cannot be comparing us with Biafra. He cannot. It is true that all the tribes, all the villages in Africa were sovereign. But when the colonialists came, they grouped us into what they call countries. And that is the new man-made law. How that should continue to last is a different story. I have a video by a brother who is saying that for Africa to continue to maintain these tiny micro-states that can never scale anything is wrong. But that's a different argument. For right now, anybody who tries to compare Ambazonia trying to assert its international legal rights, assert its right under the Constitution of La République du Cameroun, written by La République du Cameroun and violated by La République du Cameroun.
La Constitution du 1er février 1961. Cette Constitution qui a instauré l'État fédéral au Cameroun. Cette Constitution dit à l'article 1er, et c'est très bref, la République fédérale du Cameroun est formée à compter du 1er octobre 1961 du territoire de la République du Cameroun, désormais appelé Cameroun oriental, et du territoire du Cameroun oriental, anciennement sous tutelle britannique, désormais appelé Cameroun occidental. Le 1er septembre 1961. Les deux Camerouns ont réalisé leur unité. On a eu un Cameroun oriental et un Cameroun occidental qui ont fédéré pour donner la République fédérale du Cameroun. Les deux Cameroun étaient unis. Et l'article 47 de cette constitution va sceller cette union en disant ceci, article 47, toute proposition de révision de la présente constitution portant atteinte à l'unité et à l'intégrité de la fédération est irrecevable. L'article 47. Donc ça veut dire que la forme fédérale de l'État du Cameroun ne devait jamais, je dis jamais, être remise en cause. En d'autres termes, le référendum du 20 mai 1972 était un référendum illégal, anticonstitutionnel. Ce référendum a violé la Constitution. Et je suis étonné qu'on choisisse le 20 mai comme un jour de fête de l'unité du Cameroun. L'unité du Cameroun s'est réalisée le 1er septembre 1961. 1972 doit plutôt nous rappeler la date où les francophones ont avalé les anglophones. La date où on a décidé d'accélérer la brimade des anglophones.
So the fun of such shouldn't be trying to compare us with Biafra. Because Biafra tried to secede from Nigeria, a country they had independence together. We were not supposed to be part of La République du Cameroun the way we are. Not even by La République's own constitution that they wrote and we never signed. They said there were 8 items that the United Nations put in front of us to vote on. We did vote for that. That's not what we have today. Our lawyers have stated that case many, many times. Gochidinka is an incredible expert who has explained that until he turned blue. So, fun. I understand your predicament, but don't tell lies. Don't tell lies, because when you cross that line, you're part of the enemy.